Before we move into Nature Vyayamam, taking a moment and perhaps setting an intention for this evening's practice, or becoming clear as to why you're here for this evening's practice. And then when you're ready, placing an imaginary ruler in front of the eyes vertically, open the eyes, sliding the eyes to the top, one line to the bottom, continuing up and down. Next time the eyes approach the top, center, blink, and shut. Placing that ruler horizontally, opening the eyes, sliding the eyes to the right, one line to the left, continuing back and forth. Next time the eyes approach the right, center, blink, and shut. Allowing the eyes to soften to the back of the skull, bringing those palms together, rubbing them together, getting lots of heat, lots of energy. When you feel that heat, cup the palms over the eyes, taking the energy from the crown chakra, draining through the arms, the forearms, the palms, and back into those eyes. And then once that heat begins to dissipate, gently get the eyes, temples, cheeks, anywhere that needs a little extra touch or a little extra attention. When you're ready, go ahead and open the eyes, push the legs forward, and let's just go into a very quick Paschimottanasana. And while you're here, maybe you want to just move the feet, pedal the feet back and forth. You can bring the hands low, you can stay high, so you can stay more in a Dandasana. Maybe you want to make some circles with the feet. You are making circles, go the opposite way. If you are doing the circles, try not to get the hips involved, but just the feet. So just doing whatever, and you can do all of this stuff as you're coming forward. You don't have to stay. So figure out what you need to do to kind of just loosen this lower body up a little bit. And then maybe separate the legs a little bit, and then go ahead and get the hips so involved. So then just some, like you're trying to do some wiper blade action with the feet. So you might notice that it feels a little bit harder doing internal as opposed to external rotation here, movements. And then separate the feet. So bring it back to that neutral. Separate the feet, the distance of the mat, and then walk forward. Doesn't really matter how far you go. You can always use blocks for the arms. You can use blocks for the head. You don't have to use blocks. But at this point, let's start focusing on having a nice long spine. And keep the feet active. So keep the toes drawing back towards the shins. Then with the inhalation, bring it up. And we might need to stagger a little bit, but you're just going to say, so the feet should already be the distance of the mat. So you're just going to start dropping them over. And this is perfectly fine to do it this way. If you want to add a little bit of just some core strengthening, you can take the hands behind you and just do it. So you're not using the hands to assist. But if you're doing that, try to keep the spine really long. So you're not trying to hunch and do it, but you want to keep the spine. So as you drop over, right, as much as you can, feel like that if you press and you stayed here for a while, the arch and knee would come into each other. And then the same thing for the opposite side. So you certainly don't need to have the hands behind you. You can use the hands for that assistance on the floor, and that will be perfectly fine.
Okay, to the camera, please.
She's ready for her close-up. So you probably can figure out one side might feel a little bit more challenging for you. So finish out this one. Same thing. Try to keep the spine really nice and long if your hands are back behind the head. Finish out this one and then do 2 more on each side. And then we're just going to go to some 90-90 side sitting for just a couple of breaths. So when we do the 90-90, we want to have the right thigh parallel to the long line of the mat. You know what parallel means, right? So we want the shin to be parallel to the short line of the mat, the left thigh parallel short line, left shin parallel long line of the mat. Now at this point, if you're feeling like, oh, I need some sort of help here, you've got blocks, you've got blankets, you've got bolsters, you can stack it, or you can place them underneath that right hip to give you a little bit more lift. Maybe you need the hands on blocks to give you some support. Maybe the hands can come to the heart. Maybe you can lift the arms up. And if you feel like you need something for that knee, put a blanket. I personally like to put a little blanket under my shoes. I'm going to move these up again. See. Make this leg come on once with. She wants something under the knee, especially with the. I'm going to scoot this down. Yeah. Does that feel okay on the side of the foot?
Sit.
Okay. Well done, Leo. Can you scoot this thing back a little bit more? Yes, yeah, you can. Nice. Now, since we're going to be here for a couple of breaths, I want you to just kind of, maybe you want to come forward. Maybe you want to work on lifting the back leg up. Maybe you want to do a twist. Maybe you want to come over that leg and come down. So, or maybe you just want to stay straight. So take this opportunity to kind of just explore. And if you are working on lifting up that back leg, right, the knee presses down and we lift the shin up, that becomes quite challenging. Maestro. So you can lower it up and down a few times if you want. And if you want to make it more challenging, you can do that upgrade. Can you move this up a little bit more because you've got more flexibility. Yeah. So that's what they're going to make that. So one more breath and then switch sides. And if you need to do this slowly, by all means, do it slowly. We were talking yesterday in class about how we don't see the unity. We don't see the oneness. We don't see that connection to all beings everywhere we look. Because we have forgotten, right, our divinity. It's the same thing, play around with it a little bit. So because we don't see our divinity, we don't see that oneness, we are impacting folks that we don't even know. So it's not just that we behave badly, right? We're not being skillful with our actions with the people that we know, but it's the people across the world from us as well. That's how connected, that's how we are one. When we were taking photos of Joel yesterday, we briefly talked about referred pain. So take another breath here. And then you'll bring the legs back around to that Paschimottanasana just for a second. Take 2 blocks. We're going to go into Baddha Konasana with the blocks. So have the blocks next to each other like so. If you're next to a wall, that is lucky for you because that wall is going to keep you a little bit more honest. So you can press into the wall if you're back there. If not, just focus on keeping this. I was trying to press into that and I pressed into the gate. So press into the blocks like so. Then slide it back so you are coming into some sort of a Baddha Konasana at this point. Maybe you just hang on to the ankles, press into the blocks, and maybe you can press down with the elbows on the insides of the thighs, or maybe you just come behind you and press. So we really want to stay nice and long with the spine here.
Okay.
The blocks really give you a nice increased opening here, so enjoy that. So what we were talking about with Joel specifically was he has some tightness in his hips, but it can cause some knee issues. Actually, you've just kind of experienced that too, Miss Conway, right? With after your fracture.
Well, yeah, this.
Ooh. So we have these imbalances that can affect and impact different parts of the body. Which is why we want to be symmetrical as much as possible. Not just in flexibility, but also in strength. But yogically speaking, so now move one of those blocks and stay there. Yogically speaking, referred pain is our negative thoughts that we think can create natural disasters in different parts of the world. So our thoughts are so powerful, we can create, and we have created, right? These imbalances, this hate that we have for different races, for different cultures. We send those vibrations out. They have to go somewhere. Every single one of us in here is responsible for how we think. Our thoughts are very, very powerful. There has never been one war that has started without first coming from a thought. There's never been one affair that has happened that has destroyed relationships that did not first start with a thought. You are responsible for the way that you think. This is where your sadhana comes in. Go ahead and remove that block. You're responsible for the way you think, but this is not a time for us to get into belittling and berating ourselves. Okay, now from here, so you come into Baddha Konasana, and you can use the hands, keep the feet pressed into each other, and then work on bringing the knees up and down, up. And I want you to keep the feet, so try to keep the feet so they're on the sides, and you're pressing into each other. You come up, and you lower down. So join that a few times. As you think, so you become. If I think poorly of myself, I'm going to do actions so that I can be that way. Do about 3 more. At the end of the third, push the legs out. Give them a nice little shake. So we're going to do something that's just kind of good for the immune system. So I want you to walk, and if you need to use the hands, by all means use the hands. If you don't need to, then don't. But you're going to walk up and down the mat.
Yeah. Bye. Stop.
If you can get that leg all the way off the ground as you're walking up and down the mat, do so.
I did it. This echoes.
Try again in a few seconds. Something went wrong. Or maybe she was telling you to try again in a few seconds if you can get your legs up. Up and down that mat. A few more times.
Pain stuff have come on, shall I?
Yep. I want everybody to see what I got. What?
Bill practice.
Yep. The next time you get to the middle of the mat, Pause.
Spit.
Separate the legs and just begin to do a little pounding.
Does.
And go ahead and finish that out. Take a block and I want you to sit on it.
Calpus.
At least if the curved ones are uncomfortable, I think we'll look on getting you a flat one. Keep your right leg pulled in nice and tight. And if you need, same thing. So if you're near a wall, this will keep you honest if you press up to the wall. Push that left leg out. Nice and long. Draw the toes back. Nice and long with the spine. Up and down. Do that 8 times.
And
So how you think about yourself dictates much of your behavior.
oh,
Next.
Sam.
After you've done 8, switch legs. It doesn't mean that we don't mask, right? And we don't hide those behaviors. But say I have really low self-esteem. I'm really feeling a lot of lack. After you've done 8 with this leg, go back to the first leg, but this time do 8, but point those toes. So instead of addressing my lack, instead of addressing that I don't love myself, that perhaps I don't even like myself, right? I create situations where perhaps I manipulate someone and they think, oh, Franjini is so nice. She's so sweet. She's so caring. But I'm doing things not out of sincerity. I'm doing things because I don't like myself, so I'm trying to gather attention from someone else to make myself feel complete, to make myself feel whole. So then I'm lying, right? Because I'm not addressing what I'm feeling. I'm not addressing my lack. So then I'm putting out this falsehood of trying to be so nice and so kind and so loving. After you've done 8 and 8 with both legs pointed, then we start with that first leg again, and you're going to lift it up, and then you're going to make 8 circles clockwise.
Spin.
Second leg, circles clockwise, 8 circles clockwise, and then do 8 counter and 8 counter.
Bang and then.
You know, this is, we talked about it earlier this week, asking someone how they are, but you don't really care. Or giving someone a compliment that you don't really mean. Or being in a relationship that is not helpful, where you don't really love the person. The ego is tricky, 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 and loves and loves and loves to be stroked. Goes back to our mind, right? Our thoughts are terrible liars. We need to be on top of them, constantly analyzing them. Why am I thinking that? Where is this coming from? But I need to understand myself. What is it that I feel like I'm lacking, right? We feel like we're lacking love because once again, we've forgotten who we are. After you've done 8 and 8 with the circles on both sides, if you're ready to move on, then you're going to take the thighs, and as much as you can, have the thighs parallel to the short line of the mat. Same thing, shins parallel to the long line, and maybe you stay right here. You can use blocks or a block because you're sitting on the block to come forward. You can come forward with the hands. And the feet, you can have them if it feels comfortable to have them on the side or on the tops. You're going to play with that and feel like what's going to work best for you in the body that you're traveling in. So we have many thoughts that we're not aware of because we're not aware of where we're coming from. Couple more breaths. Everything goes back to the practice. Doing the practice so we have more clarity. So I understand my thoughts. I understand why I'm behaving the way I'm behaving. Then I can change those thoughts. And the more clear I become, the more I begin to actually love myself. Go ahead and bring it up. So let's just stay on the blocks for one more and then back into Paschimottanasana, just for a breath or two. The next inhalation, bring it up. Scoot the block out of the way, roll over, and let's just start down on all fours. So actually on the forearms. Slide it back so you're in some sort of a nice forearm plank. Try not to poke the butt up, but if you need to, you can drop down to the knees because we're going to be here for a bit. But as soon as you get here, I want you to just start rocking back and forth on the toes. Now pause. Go ahead and drop the knees down. We're just going to do a reset. Do 5 cat and cows. The end of the 5th cat and cow, back down to that forearm plank, and we're going to hold it for about 30 seconds or so. So if I have damaging thoughts, you have damaging thoughts, and they're going out into the world, right? They have to go someplace. This is that referred pain. So not only am I damaging myself, I'm damaging those in close proximity to me, but I'm sending those thoughts out. Your breath, right? your inhalations and exhalations. Every time you exhale, your Shakti, your thoughts go out into the world. Take it back to the knees, push back to all fours, reset, cat and cow. And when you inhale, you're inhaling what others have exhaled. What does breath carry? Prana. What is prana? Prana is what configures you. Prana is your life force. Prana is that which animates you. Not just you, all of us. At the end of the fifth, now if you need to at any point, you can go back to this first one, but now we're going to take the right arm and we're going to, so this is your option. If you feel like you need to go back to this one at any point, do so. Take the right arm, and I want the right arm parallel to the short line of the mat. Slide back, and we're going to go into a side plank. Left arm can come up or over the head. So each time the arm is going to get a little bit more challenging. So this is also a good option as well too. Can you stack the hips so that that left hip is pointed towards the street?
Us back at you. And to lessons. I said take on lessons. At the new back. Out.
Release that arm. Back to all fours. Reset. 5 cat and cows. Our prana is one of the main reasons why our environment is stronger than we are. Because we start to develop a collective consciousness of those around us. So now this second time when you come down, so instead of the right forearm being parallel, that's perfectly fine to stay there. If you can take it so the middle finger is pointed towards the corner of the mat, side plank.
You need to count the legs down for a being on that side.
Release. Reset. The last time, and this is going to be the most challenging. So you have both arms if you want to go both arms straight, angled. But this time, if you can take the right arm so that it's parallel to the long line of the mat, and flip up.
I can scoop the feet back to my hand. Then this one back.
Yeah. And then put that on top.
There you go.
Release. All fours. Cat and cows. And let's start the second side. first option, first side, or the forearms parallel to the short line of the mat. So what you're exhaling is what you're thinking. What you're inhaling is what others are thinking. Doesn't this make you think, oh shit, I need to be really mindful about who I spend time with, who I share breath with? But these negative thoughts travel around the world. It's not just here. Okay, release. Reset, cat and cows. Which is why it is so imperative for us to do whatever it is we need to do to attenuate or alleviate, even if it's just one speck of hate from our heart in this lifetime. Because when we come back next time, we'll be breathing less hate out into the world. We'll be breathing less sadness out into the world. We'll have less in us, so it will be easier for us to pull in that true love, that true energy from the cosmos. Release. Reset, cat and cows. Ryan, you can put a blanket. When you're ready, the last one.
Yes.
Right, that's one of the reasons why it's hard for us to make changes. Because we stay in that same collective, that same group. And if not everybody's changing and only one, we're going to get sucked back, right? When an alcoholic has reached rock bottom and needs to make those changes, he doesn't go to the bar anymore. He cultivates, go ahead, release a new group of friends. Five, cat and cows. At the end of that fifth cat and cow, squeeze the legs together. So bring them together. And then just lift the right arm out to the side. So if you need to stagger a little bit, stagger. Which is why it's so amazing when someone goes to prison and actually changes. Why it is so incredible. Because most people go to prison and get out and they're better thieves. They're better at whatever they've done. It's one of the first things Riley told me. Because they talk how to do things better. So the fact that Riley made such dramatic changes is really impressive, but he had a very core group of men that he was in prison with that were wanting to improve as well. Release, second side. You must be very mindful of who you associate with. You must be very mindful of your thoughts and how they're impacting you, your immediate group, and those that aren't even in this country. Breath, oxygen, air doesn't stay in one place. It travels. It moves. Go ahead, release. Back to 5 cat and cows. So you begin to ask yourself, how harmonious am I with my thoughts, with my speech, and with my actions? When I ask someone, how are you? Do I really mean it? When I give someone a compliment, do I really mean it? At the end of that 5th, come back to a forward plank and lower as slowly as you can all the way to the mat. Try to keep the elbows tucked in as you lower down. When I tell someone I love them, do I mean it? Is it just perfunctory? Let's move into Sphinx pose. So slide the arms forward and then draw the right arm back so that it's shoulder right on top of elbow. Slide the left arm back. Keep everything kind of squeezed in. Draw the shoulders back. So make it a very active Sphinx here. Really pull back with the forearms. Spread those fingers. Now from here, press in and press up. So press into the ground and just press through the arms. Can you keep the shoulders pulled back away from the sternum? Nice. If that feels like it's too much, then don't do it.
Shit.
Slowly lower all the way down. Bring the fingers so the fingers are right in line with the shoulders. Now, as we move through this, if this feels like it's too much, then go back to Sphinx. So you're on the floor, fingertips right next to the shoulders. Draw those elbows back. You've all seen cricket legs, right? You've seen them pulled back. That's how your arms should look. Park the forehead on the floor. Take a nice inhalation. The exhalation, so on those fingertips, unless you can't do it, the next exhalation, come into some sort of a cobra. On the exhalation, it should feel harder. Keep the elbows pulling in. Nice. If it's too much with the fingertips, palms flat, that's fine. Lower down. So you've got options here. You've got the first Sphinx. You can push up from Sphinx, right? You can do this one again or slide the fingertips down so they're more in line with the lower ribs. Palms flat if you need to, or fingertips. Fingertips make it harder. Not the inhalation, the exhalation brings you up. Keep the pubic bone pressed to the floor. Keep those elbows tucked in, touching the torso. Lower down. Got options. The last option, slide the fingertips so they're in line with the hip pointers. Take a nice inhalation. The exhalation brings it up. Keep the elbows drawing in. Nice.
Easy.
And release. Take Makrasana. So we really need to dig in and understand our behaviors. Then we can understand the thoughts. Our words. Skillfulness in action has so many layers. So many layers. Take a couple more breaths here. We have you sit up, Derek. Now from here, press back into child's pose. If child's pose isn't going to work for you, then you can go to all fours. That's fine. When you press back to child's pose, arms are forward, but walk them over to the left. So you get a nice little stretch in the side body. This week is so important because it gives us so much time to really think about what it is we're doing and why we're doing it. Because karmically speaking, the thoughts that we think that impact Malaysia or Indonesia or China or India or South America or Florida, we have karma for that as well too. Walk it back through center, walk it over to the second side. It doesn't just stop right here. Know thyself.
So.
Know thyself and love thyself.
So.
When you love yourself, you quit hurting yourself. Right? We can think of the physical ways we hurt ourselves. Smoking, drinking. Right? But we hurt ourselves by lying, by stealing. It doesn't just hurt the other person, it hurts us. And the point of origin, it's always going to hurt more. Think of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Walk it back to center, bring it up. If you're comfortable, you can stay on the heels if you need to. Put a block, left hand to the right knee, go into some sort of a twist. When we love ourselves, we quit being angry at ourselves. We quit thinking so little of ourselves. We gain that confidence. Come back through center, second side. It will never get any of this if we don't do our practice. Come back through center. Drop over to the right. Push the legs just for a quick Paschimottanasana. If you want to go ahead and turn around so you're facing towards the back at this point, that's fine.
Good. Thanks, Tim.
So really be honest with yourself. How much do you like yourself? How much do you love yourself? Not to beat yourself up. Yoga is never about beating ourselves up. Yoga is about understanding who we are so that we can change who we are.
Okay.
The next inhalation, roll it up and come to the back. Making any of those final adjustments so the body can become totally quiet, totally still.
Good.
And then we allow the space at the crown of the head to relax. The space in between the eyebrows, relax. Temples, relax. Eyes, nose, mouth, relax. Chin, jawline, ears, relax. Neck, throat, relax. Shoulders, upper arms, elbows, forearms, relax. Wrist, palms, fingers, relax. Tailbone, lower back, middle back, upper back, relax. Chest, belly, all the internal organs, relax. Hips, buttocks, relax. Thighs, knees, shins, calves, relax. Ankles, heels, arches, tops of the feet, balls of the feet, toes, relax. The entire body has become totally, completely relaxed.
It's just
And then returning to the breath, directing it to the toes and the fingers, and gently begin to wiggle them. Then allowing the body to stretch and to move as if for the first time today. And when it feels right, rolling to whichever side is beckoning. And when the body decides it's time, bringing it to a seated posture.
it's shit. Like
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhakbhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And now doing anything that you need to do to find your meditation posture. So if you need to sit a little higher, prop the legs so that you can be head, neck, and trunk straight and be comfortable. And just taking a couple breaths, assessing the breathing at this point. Maybe it feels more settled. The next exhalation, travel with the breath from the crown down to the tips of the toes. As soon as the inhalation begins, from the tips of the toes back up to the crown. Continuing a few times. Exhaling to the toes, inhaling back to the crown. Next exhalation to the ankles. Inhaling from the ankles and back up through the crown of the head. The next exhalation to the knees. Inhaling from the knees back to the crown of the head. The next exhalation to the tip of the tailbone, inhaling back to the crown. The next exhalation to the lower belly. Inhaling back to the crown. The next exhalation to the solar plexus. Inhaling back up. The next exhalation to the heart. Inhaling back up. The next exhalation to the throat, inhaling back to the crown of the head. Next exhalation to that bit of skin between the nostrils. Staying here, inhaling and exhaling. Feel the coolness in the inhalation for the complete inhalation, the warmth at the exhalation for the complete exhalation. The next inhalation, travel up to that space between the eyebrows. Inhaling and exhaling here in this space. And you're just the observer. Thoughts come. You let them go because you are not the thoughts. So when they come, let them go by returning back to the breath. The awareness of the breath. Perhaps you notice sounds, but you return the awareness to the breath. You observe, but you know that you are not that which you are observing.
You are beyond that. Now I return the breath awareness back to the nostrils. The awareness in the body, the realm. Bringing the hands to the heart, bowing the head to the heart. Bowing the head to your inner dweller that is closer to you than your own heart. Let me cherish those that God cherishes. Let me forgive those that God forgives. Let me serve those that God serves. Let me love those that God loves. Take it.